time. Wake up, it's D.A.M.N time. D.A.M.N time. Truth in the booth and the whole chat. I walk in with the facts, no fluff in the bag. Hot coffee, cold truth, let me raise that flag. They came for the jokes, but they stayed for the lesson. I turn headlines into business confessions. I don't do fake, I don't tap dance nice. I say what I said, then I say it twice. If the world gone crazy, I'm the morning alarm. With a mic in my hand and some smoke in my palm. Say D.A.M.N. D.A.M.N. Say it one more time. D.A.M.N. If the truth hit hard, let it ride. If the show got value, put some love inside. It's D.A.M.N. Everybody say it. D.A.M.N. Don't just replay it. D.A.M.N. We live in the chat. If the facts hit home, go and tap that tap. D.A.M.N. Hands in the sky, wake up, get smart, let the nonsense die. Tap that tap, drop that love. Shack going crazy when that truth show up. Tap that tap, drop that love. D.A.M.N. in the morning now, turn me up.
Yeah, people. What's good with you? Welcome to Dave Anderson Morning News. Of course, I am Dave Anderson, and this is D.A.M.N. Today, we got a special show. And I am extremely excited about this one because it's been a long time coming, and the people deserve to know what I know. Yeah. So let me not be rude. Let me say good morning and welcome to D.A.M.N, the Dave Anderson Morning News, where D.A.M.N stands for discipline, ambition, mindset. Now, today's show is going to be shorter than usual because I got a meeting in Delaware, and it's a big one. But apparently, Delaware could not conduct business without me physically entering the state. So let's get directly to it. Music industry titan Clive Davis has died in 94. You're going to hear all the familiar tributes today. Legendary executive, hitmaker, the man with the visionary golden ears. All of that's true. Clive Davis went from practicing law to running Columbia Records, and then later founded Arista Records and then J Records, and helped launch, develop, revive, or elevate artists to amazing heights, including Janis Joplin, Whitney Houston, Barry Manilow, Alicia Keys, Santana, Aretha Franklin, Phyllis Hyman, and others. But I want to discuss the Clive Davis story that people usually overlook. Clive Davis understood that the music business was never merely about music. It was about identifying talent, packaging talent, controlling distribution, building relationships, choosing records, commanding radio attention, managing perception, and convincing the public that one artist mattered more than the other. 50,000 talented people standing outside the building. That's the part that people miss. Now, I did not work directly for Clive Davis, and I will not manufacture some imaginary personal relationship because the man died. Now everybody suddenly needs a photograph and a testimony. No, but I have worked inside the machinery his generation helped create. I have worked with artists that he is responsible for. I worked in radio. I worked with what you now know as iHeart, Urban One, Cumulus, Comcast, digital platforms. I've had a record deal. I've dealt with artists, executives, promoters, programmers, and people who could change people's careers, sometimes with a phone call and a finger snap. And here's what I learned. The public believes success is discovered. The industry knows that success is constructed. Talent matters, the song matters, the performance matters, but relationships determine who gets heard. Budgets determine who gets repeated. Distribution determines who becomes unavoidable, and marketing determines who looks important, and gatekeepers determine whose genius gets called genius. Now, you can have the greatest record in America sitting on a laptop nobody opens. Meanwhile, another artist can have an average at best record backed by the right executives, radio relationships, playlists, interviews, press coverage, influencer campaigns, remixes, strategic controversy, and a marketing budget large enough to make mediocrity look like a cultural movement. That does not mean that Clive Davis manufactured untalented people. Yes, it does. Quite the opposite. His brilliance was recognizing exceptional talent and then understanding how to build around that infrastructure. Whitney Houston already possessed one of the greatest voices the world had ever known. Not going to take it from her. But voices do not negotiate contracts, select singles, coordinate radio, manage marketing, secure television appearances, create a pop star bubblegum image, and create momentum. The world remembers the voice. The business remembers the system and the infrastructure surrounding the voice. And Clive Davis understood systems. He understood that executives didn't merely sign artists. The best executives build environments where artists can become culturally inevitable. That's why his legacy matters to entrepreneurs. Now, some of you are talented, but invisible. You keep improving the product while ignoring the distribution. You keep polishing up your message while refusing to build relationships. As a result, you keep saying, my work should speak for itself. And I'm going to tell you, no, it shouldn't. Your work does not have a mouth, a marketing department, a media strategy, or airfare. You got to go speak for the work. Clive Davis understood this, and something that many modern creators still resist. You need the product, you need the positioning, you need the platform, you need the promotion. Miss one of those, and somebody less talented but better organized will eat your lunch, take your audience, and then sell you a course on how they did it. Now, before I get any further into this, let me say this plainly. If this show gives you information, perspective, laughter, ammunition you can actually use, I need you to support the work through the super chats. Don't merely just sit on the sidelines, sitting in the comments talking about preach, Dave. No. Like encouragement pays the electric bill around here. Drop a super chat, include your question, your business, your city, your lesson, the music industry taught you, and I will acknowledge as many as possible before I get out of here to go snap some necks and cash some checks. Support independent media while it's still independent. Once somebody pays for the microphone, they usually start choosing what can be said into it. I'm just letting you know. So let's continue. Now, there is another part of Clive Davis's legacy that represented the old school executive that actively listened for records. Not followers, not social media numbers, not whether somebody had a viral TikTok dance. Now, I want to make sure that I'm giving all the flowers I need to give before I start dropping this here hammer. So I'm going to say everything that I need to say. And then we're going to keep this thing pushing. So Clive listened for voices, for songs, emotional connection, longevity, and whether an artist could become bigger than just one moment. Modern labels often want artists to arrive already developed, packaged, already viral, already profitable, already carrying an audience, and already preferably their own ring light. Then they want you to discover that the public has already discovered you. That's not artist development. That's corporate hitchhiking. Clive Davis came from an era where powerful executives could invest in building careers. The system could be controlling, unfair, political, and financially brutal. Let's not romanticize record labels as charitable organizations with drum machines, because they ain't. But there was still an understanding that a career required development. Today, a lot of artists just receive exposure without any development whatsoever. Followers without any type of ownership. You can thank Leroy Cohen for that 360 deal. Streams without sustainable income, and the temporary visibility without a long-term plan. They become famous enough to be recognized, but not wealthy enough to stop working. And that's one of the greatest tricks this and other devils have pulled in modern entertainment. The applause can be real while the money is imaginary. So when people discuss Clive Davis, don't only remember the celebrity standing beside him. Study the structure. Study how he found talent. Study how he paired artists with songs. Study how he used institutional power. Study how he treated cultural moments. Study how he remained relevant across radically different musical eras and radically different musical genres. Davis moved through rock, pop, R&B, adult contemporary, hip-hop, televised talent competitions because he understood that styles change, but the fundamentals of attention, emotion, positioning, and distribution remain remarkably consistent. That's the business lesson. Stop asking, am I talented? Ask, do I have distribution? Do I have positioning? Do I have relationships? Do I have a recognizable message? Do I own anything? Can I convert attention into income? Am I building a career or merely chasing moments? Because virality without infrastructure is just a crowded room noticing you briefly. Clive Davis built careers, catalogs, and cultural moments that lasted longer than most trending topics survive. That doesn't make every decision perfect. It makes the body of work undeniable. So today, respect to Clive Davis, but I'm not going to pretend that the music industry was clean, fair, or built merely on merit. I honor him by talking about what he understood. Talent opens the conversation. Strategy builds the career. Power owns the marketplace. Ownership determines who benefits after that applause stops. So, to every artist, coach, entrepreneur, independent thinker watching this, I want you to make sure you don't just create something brilliant, but build a system that prevents the world from overlooking it. So now that I've gotten all of that out of the way, right? Now that we've recognized that the man was a 94-year-old cultural icon, now that we've talked about all of the wonderful things he contributed to music, let's talk about common denominators. And when I say common denominators, I'm talking about the things that just kept happening around him. Hold on one second. Because there's a lot I want to get to, and I want to make sure I don't miss anything. I want to be able to talk to you about the music industry I know. I want to talk to you about how things happen. I want to talk to you about what it looks like when people just paint the Hall of Fame version and don't really talk about what actually happens and what that looks like in real time. And that to me is extremely dangerous. And I've had this conversation a myriad of times with folks when it comes to what it looks like and how evil the music industry can be. Let me know where you're checking in from, because I want to make sure that we have an honest conversation. Shout out to TZ, peace and blessings to the B1 family. Shout out to my man TZ, about I think a YouTube member. Nightcast Media TV said Clive went on to launch a lot of careers. Absolutely. He definitely understood the power of marketing and consistency along with synergy. Can't argue that. What I will say is that we tend to romanticize people. We tend to create a version of history that isn't honest when it comes to what actually happened and what it took. Some of y'all will catch that bar in a minute. We got to start talking about things, real things, honest things, things that people don't want to talk about. And I'm going to lay it all out. And I only got 46 minutes to do it. So let Uncle Dave get busy. But if you got a question, I suggest you super chat, because your boy's about to start flowing straight from the survival scrolls. I'm not going to act like Clive Davis was this altruistic, beautiful beneficiary. I'm not going to act like he's just Janis Joplin and Usher. I'm not going to act like this man did not become the boogeyman or the Skeletor in a lot of artists, specifically foundational Black American artists' lives. I'm just not going to do that, because I understand how the game goes. And this isn't me making excuses for people signing deals, because everybody has a choice in what they sign. But if you call that a choice, that's like choosing between chlamydia and full-blown AIDS. You know, sit there and be the most talented person in the bingo hall, or be the most talented broke person in Madison Square Garden. Yeah. So Uncle Dave's gonna break this down, and I don't have enough time to go through each and every one of the most disgusting things this man did. But what I will do is give you what I like to call the human highlight reel. Let me know you're with me. Let me know where you're checking in from. I want to make sure you're there. What up, Jersey City? What up, Forever Red? I see you. And let's get it popping. Right? So Clive Davis was fired from CBS Records in 1973 amidst allegations involving misuse of company funds and a broader payola controversy. Now, let me put that to you another way. As a radio professional, I can tell you there's no such thing as a record that isn't bought and paid for. Whether it's through marketing, promotion, or this nasty little money laundering thing the record and radio industry do called indies. And so, because there's all these laws about plugola and payola, what winds up happening is you need somebody to take that money and wash it. And so somebody came up with these independent promoter houses. And what these independent promoter houses do in order to circumvent the Federal Communications Commission and help the radio companies fatten their pockets and also help the record companies get airplay for the artists that they want to push down everybody's throat, they go to a middleman called an indie or an independent record promoter. And that independent record promoter says, hey, you've got a summer jam coming up, or you've got a jingle ball coming up, and we want to give you this amount of money so that you can give away this many tickets, courtesy of insert whatever record company you got here. So all this stuff has been happening since before I was born. I don't care if you're talking about Elvis, the Beatles, Michael Jackson, the Jackson 5, whomever you'd like to name. Kiss, the Rolling Stones, Jimi Hendrix, they all have had somebody grease somebody's palms, whether you're aware of it or not. And you'll find plenty of DJs who'll say, well, I never got paid. Yeah, that's because you're lacking. You're not high up on the totem pole. Sorry. So let's get into it. Now, Davis denied the ugliest accusations and said he was being targeted. But in 1976, he pled guilty to one count of tax evasion involving unreported personal travel expenses, received a suspended sentence, and paid a $10,000 fine. And I'm not going to mention the fact that Clive Davis was a lawyer. You say lawyer fast enough, you get another word. Liar. But I'm not going to keep going. Now, again, that does not erase his genius. And I'll be first to tell you, I know plenty of evil geniuses, but it does destroy the fairy tale that his career was simply one brilliant decision after another. Clive Davis didn't merely survive scandal. He mastered the American art form of returning from scandal more powerful than before. Now, my uncle, the late Roscoe Gill, happened to be a voice coach, and one of his most famous clients was a woman named Phyllis Hyman. So let's discuss, shall we? I think you might want to sit down for this one. Phyllis Hyman was one of the greatest voices ever recorded. She was gorgeous. She was sophisticated. She was emotionally volcanic and impossible to reduce to some little corporate marketing formula. So, depending on who you ask, and I know a lot of people who were there. I only met Phyllis Hyman once, and I was like 15 years old. So, I can't tell you anything other than what she said to me, which was make sure you own as much as you possibly can. That was the extent of my interactions with Phyllis. My uncle, on the other hand, could tell a whole lot of stories, and I'm not going to get into all of those for obvious reasons. But here's what I will tell you. Accounts of Phyllis Hyman's Arista years describe an increasingly adversarial relationship between her and Clive Davis. The dispute was fundamentally about artistic identity versus commercial direction. Davis wanted records he believed could cross over and sell. Phyllis Hyman wanted to protect her music and her identity that she believed belonged to her. She was unapologetically Black. She was unapologetically urban. She was tall, statuesque, thicker than a Snicker, beautiful, and she understood the importance of ownership, and Clive Davis didn't like it one damn bit. So that conflict matters because the music industry celebrates difficult geniuses when they're profitable men. But when a Black woman says, I know who I am, suddenly she's uncooperative, unstable, too hard to market, too much trouble. Hyman's Arista contract ended after Goddess of Love in 1983. Around the period, Davis shifted enormous attention toward the newly signed ingenue named Whitney Houston. That doesn't prove that Clive Davis destroyed Phyllis Hyman, caused her death, or launched some secret campaign against her. There's no credible evidence supporting those internet inventions. But there's enough documented conflict to ask a legitimate question. What happens when the executive controls the budget, the promotion, the singles, the radio relationships, and the artist's access to the marketplace? You can have a voice from heaven and still be trapped in a building controlled by accountants and devils. Period, point blank. Then, moving on, because I have to condense this for time. Then there's Milli Vanilli. Now, the public story is that Rob Pilatus and Fab Morvan fooled the world. Of course, that version is wonderfully convenient because it puts the entire scandal on two young men standing in front of the world, in front of the cameras. Producer Frank Farian created the project and controlled the recordings. Arista released the music in America. When the deception became undeniable, Milli Vanilli lost its Grammy, was dropped by Arista, and became an international punchline. Fab Morvan has since alleged that Davis and Arista executives knew the truth. Davis denied knowing, and Farian said Arista had not been told before signing the act. Now, if you happen to have a Paramount Plus account, there is a phenomenal documentary about Milli Vanilli, and it proves that Clive Davis absolutely knew what was happening and how to get around it and what was happening. Everybody, except these two young men, was covered and exposed, and nobody ever brought up any charges. So I'm not going to say that he was the mastermind. I just will say that, again, we're talking about common denominators. And when you see somebody on film talking about what he knew while cameras were rolling, that's what it is. But here's what we can say, aside from you watching that documentary. The performers became the faces of the fraud, while the producers, the executives, the distributors, the marketers, and the corporate infrastructure that earned money from the records escaped anything resembling the same public destruction. Blame it on the rain. On top of that, when have you ever heard of Clive Davis not listening to an artist without a backing track, without anything else? It never happened. So you mean to tell me that on this one, he just, we'll just sign them as is. I don't want to get look on them. I don't want to hear what they sound like. I don't want to pick records for them. That does not jive with everything that we know about Clive Davis. But again, that's how the machine works. When the money's coming in, everybody's responsible. As soon as the scandal arrives, suddenly the artist acted alone. And the funny thing about that particular scandal is that when they started asking for more money, when they started asking for more control, when they started asking for their voices to be heard, all of a sudden there was a glitch at a live show. Conveniently. Now, they were doing thousands of concerts, but all of a sudden there was a glitch at a live show. And then they tried to launch the real Milli Vanilli, which was the slack-jawed North American big backs that were singing that they said sounded better than Rob and Fab. But if you listen to Fab now, he sounds phenomenal. So, girl, you know it's girl, you know it's girl, you know it's girl. Horrible. So let's talk about TLC. One of the biggest groups on the planet. Hell, in history. Crazy Sexy Cool sold millions. The singles dominated radio. Hell, I played them a lot. The video shaped culture, yet the members filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, arguing that their contract was unfair and left them unable to pay their bills. Let that just wash over you for a minute. Hold on. We've got a super chat here. The Iceman with the $10 super chat. You better thank a YouTube member. Said he was smooth, a real piece of my heart. Met him on the freeway of love, but I was blinded by the light. Clive Davis, I will always love you. If you know, you know. Hashtag 305, hashtag B1, hashtag cut the check. Thank you so much. Now, I'm going to get back to TLC. You can be selling records by the truckload, winning Grammys, and still be broke as hell. Broke enough to need bankruptcy protection. That's not a music story. That's a business warning. And according to TLC's own retellings, they eventually stormed Arista's offices, removed TLC property, confronted Clive Davis, and, left eyes from Philly. I knew Lisa. And I will tell you, the version you hear is not how raw it really was. Listen, they went up in there with some homeboys. You feel me? They went up there and confronted this man because, again, it's about the deal. And what I found, and this is the part that I hate, a lot of people do good business, but sometimes good business is not fair at all. So they went up in there, and some will say with nightsticks, some will say with baseball bats, some will say with some other things, click, click, cut. Confronted Clive Davis, and effectively refused to leave the office until they got a check. Now, the more theatrical hostage language comes from some people's storytellings, but again, we know that Puff dined them out. But the contract battle in and of itself was very, very real. Their deal was eventually renegotiated. So when people say Clive Davis created TLC, let's complete the sentence. The same corporate structure that helped make TLC famous also left one of the most successful groups alive fighting for the right to benefit from the very art that they created financially, even though they were arguably the most successful girl group at that time. So fame and wealth are not twins. Sometimes they don't even have the same daddy. Sometimes they barely know each other. So now let's get to it. I know this is what y'all been waiting on. So now we come to Sean Diddy Combs, Puffy, P. Diddy, Puff the Magic Diddy, Papa Diddy Pop. Combs left Uptown Records, right? Because according to Andre Harrell, and I talked to Andre Harrell myself, and I said, you fired Puff. Why'd you fire Puff? And listen, he said the same thing that they depicted in the movie. You can't have two lions in the jungle, you know? And again, he said, you know, my relationship with Puff is good, so on and so forth, bop, bop, bobbity, bop. But truth of the matter is, every 30 years or so, this man would get a new protege, a new executive. Now, depending on the legend, or depending on which version of the story you've heard, after Puff was unceremoniously fired from Uptown after crafting such artists like Jodeci and Mary J. Blige, so on and so forth, the Dolly My Baby remix with Super Cat, you know, Big was signed there, whole nine, right? He was so upset and so distraught that he unplugged his phone for 3 days. And when he plugged his phone back in, he also had a nice check for some serious money. And he took that money and started Bad Boy as an imprint under Arista Records. Now, depending on who you ask, and depending on how deep you want to go down the rabbit hole, you know how Puffy had that album called We Invented the Remix? He never had an album called I Invented the Freak Off. And we all know that in later years, Clive had admitted to liking certain things. And I mean, this would be his month, if you understand what I'm saying. And because Clive ain't black, I think you know I'm not talking about Black Music Month. So all I'm saying is, did he really just stay in his apartment for 3 days and nobody came by to check on him? Or could it have been that he sealed that deal, allegedly, supposedly for entertainment purposes, with Freak Off? Look, I'm just asking. But we're going to go all the way there. We're going to go all the way there, right? So Diddy leaves Uptown, and Clive immediately entered a 50-50 joint venture with him that helped him establish Bad Boy as one of the most powerful labels in hip-hop, period, point blank, arguably in history. Bad Boy gave us Biggie, Faith, 112, Mace, and an era-defining catalog. It also gave Diddy dirty money. See what I did? Infrastructure, distribution, corporate credibility, access to rooms he couldn't have built alone. Access to rooms he couldn't have built alone. That relationship is documented. What's not documented is that Clive Davis knew about or approved every act Diddy would later be accused or convicted of committing. So we can't say that unless evidence emerges. Conspiracy theories make legitimate criticism look unserious. We can say that Combs was convicted in 2025 on 2 counts involving transportation for acquitted of racketeering, conspiracy, and SMEX trafficking charges and sentenced to 50 months in federal prison. But Clive Davis has never done a day of time. The responsible question isn't, did Clive Davis secretly know everything? The responsible question is, how does the entertainment industry create powerful men, the system behind those powerful men, profit from those powerful men's behavior, ignore the warnings while the revenue is flowing, and then act completely astonished when the curtain finally falls and we see these folks start falling off? Davis helped provide the runway, and the institutional infrastructure for Bad Boy through that 50-50 Arista partnership. That's a historical fact. Anything beyond that requires evidence, not YouTube incense and conspiracy fog. Now, let's talk about something that a lot of people don't talk about, which is what I call the replacement killer. Clive Davis was famous, depending on who you ask, for entertainment purposes only on Earth 2, allegedly, supposedly. When Phyllis Hyman became too much and wanted ownership, he went and put everything into Whitney Houston. I'm not sure what happened with Usher, but the next thing you know, Clive Davis starts J Records, and he signs Alicia Keys, and he signs a little boy out of Baltimore named Mario. And there was a lot of scuttlebutt in the industry that only radio people and record industry executives knew. And that was, allegedly, supposedly for entertainment purposes only, Usher felt some type of way about Mario. And if you think I'm lying, there was a song. And in that song features, if I'm not mistaken, Cassidy. And that song came out like not too long after Mario was signed. It hit a lot of mixtapes, but it didn't get a whole lot of burn on mainstream media, and it didn't have a video, so you might have missed it. But it basically says, next time y'all niggas want to compare me, remember I just turned 18. That means I got 7 years to catch up, so what's up? Now, if you do the math, if he just turned 18 and he says he's got 7 years to catch up, there was somebody who was 7 years his senior who he had to catch up to. Who put the battery in his back? Who authorized that record? Because there's a verse in that song that says, I got Mr. Davis in the captain seat pushing buttons for me. Now, if you know anything about me, my favorite modern R&B artist is Mary. So these ain't shots. I'm telling you the truth. Google it if you ain't got nothing better to do. But this taking one artist and then putting out another artist is diabolical. And acting like that's okay is not only diabolical, it's so disrespectful. Also, are we going to talk about the fact that Clive Davis is symptomatic of the greater music industry problem that we're having in this country? You got folks sitting up here putting out AI artists and making profits because they don't want to deal with artists being wise, because now we got Google, we got all these things that we can use. So I want to talk about this last thing, and then I'm going to play some stuff that I want you to see, and then we're going to get into these super chats. Now this one, and I know you ain't gonna like it, but again, that ain't never stopped me before. Now, we can't talk about Clive Davis honestly without talking about the night Whitney Houston died. On February 11, 2012, Whitney Houston was found unresponsive in a bathtub inside her room at the Beverly Hilton Hotel. She was pronounced dead at approximately 3:55 that afternoon. Clive Davis' annual pre-Grammy Gala was scheduled inside that same hotel later that evening, and the gala continued. Whitney's body remained upstairs for hours while celebrities, executives, producers, and industry power players entered the hotel and attended the event downstairs. Contemporary reports stated that her body was not removed until after midnight, roughly 8 hours after she had been pronounced dead. Now, let's be accurate. There's no verified evidence that Clive Davis personally ordered authorities to keep Whitney Houston's body upstairs until after the party was over. The Los Angeles County coroner denied reports that anyone asked them to delay removing her remains. So I'm not saying Clive Davis controlled the coroner. I am saying something a little bit more disturbing. Whitney Houston was dead upstairs while the music industry continued celebrating downstairs. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what we call a documented fact. Davis then proceeded with the event saying Whitney would have wanted the music to continue. Recording Academy president Near Portnow also said Houston's family had asked the event to move forward. The gala was reframed as a tribute, and Davis publicly expressed his devastation. But we are still allowed to ask whether continuing was appropriate, because Whitney was not some distant celebrity who happened to die across town. She was Clive Davis's greatest discovery. Not Janis Joplin, not Bruce Springsteen, Whitney Houston. She was supposed to attend that party. She died in that same building where the champagne continued flowing. I was at the Grammys. I saw a bunch of pre-Grammy parties. One, I was there with Kelly Price, and her and Whitney had sang. And listen, boy, listen. Anyway, her remains were still upstairs. You can call that resilience. You can call it a tribute. You can say the show must go on, but you cannot pretend that image is not at bare minimum grotesque, disgusting, and deplorable. A woman whose voice helped build and sustain an empire for decades was dead upstairs while the empire continued networking, drinking, partying, and other things downstairs. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the music industry in one picture. The other part of that is that last album. I remember David Foster saying that there's certain people like Barbra Streisand whose voice has just been phenomenal. That instrument keeps going. But that last album when Whitney was, I look to you, it took a lot. And you could see it when she was there. And it's ironic. And again, I can't necessarily prove that Clive Davis had anything to do with the untimely death of Bobby Christina, but I find it that the person who would have had control of Whitney's legacy and everything that came with it also passed away in a very similar fashion that her mother did. Where's Dr. Umar when you need him? You don't find that suspicious? You don't find that suspicious? You don't find that suspicious. Okay, I reloaded. So, LS, don't get ahead of me because I want to talk about that too. When Whitney was alive, her voice generated money, countless millions, influence, prestige, awards, institutional power. When she died, the schedule remained more powerful than the tragedy. And that is the question nobody wants to ask. At what point does the show must go on become another way of saying the machine can't afford to stop? Because maybe Whitney would have wanted the music to continue, but she wasn't there to say that herself. Other people spoke for her, just as executives have spoken for the artist throughout her entire career that manufactured that image that made Bobby Brown look like a demon and Whitney Houston look like an angel. And I'm not accusing Clive Davis of causing Whitney Houston's death. There's no credible evidence supporting that claim. I am examining what happened afterward, because a pause would have cost nothing compared to what had just been lost. Cancel the gala, turn it into a private vigil, send somebody home, do something that says a human life matters more than the industry calendar. Instead, the red carpet rolled out, the step and repeat remained, the cameras were rolling, the ballroom opened, the executives gathered, and Whitney remained upstairs, still wet when they pulled her out of the tub hours after the fact. That does not erase everything Clive Davis accomplished, but it does belong in the record, because legacy is not merely the awards you displayed. Legacy is also what's prioritized when the trophies can no longer drown out the truth. Now, was continuing that party a legitimate tribute to Whitney, in your opinion, or was it the clearest evidence that music industry treats people, and artists specifically, like products, even in death? I would love to know what your thoughts are. You can go ahead and put Whitney in the super chat and then tell me where you stand. And please don't type a 12-paragraph dissertation. I ain't got time. You know, especially if you're typing that dissertation while guarding $5 like it contains the nuclear code. Support independent media here, people. Support research conversations. Because corporate outlets will give you the tribute. Over here at D.A.M.N, we're going to examine the truth. And it's a lot of people out here bugging out. And I mean really bugging out. Respectfully. So y'all can go ahead and hit them super chats. I am going to play something that I thought was extremely interesting that I came across this morning. And when I heard it, I was blown away. And I'm trying to get this young lady on the show. But I was like, oh, okay, she got something. Then I couldn't believe what I was hearing when I heard it. And I was like, yo, she going in. So I want y'all to check this out. And y'all tell me what you think.
In my comment, worldwide protest. Timberland in my comment, losing rights every day. Timberland in my comment, he an icon and he paid. Why Timberland in my comment? Could be anywhere in the world. Timberland, here you are. Chat, somebody stop me if I take this shit too far. Clown activities by superstars we grew up on. I might have to thank you for the record that I blew up on. Wasn't gonna take it here, wasn't getting this involved. You can't speak on music no more. You co-signing Pinky Dog. You not giving feedback. Timbo out here chasing clout. Timberland on TikTok dropping bands on Pinky gooning out. Yikes. Everything in the dark coming to the light. Taking credit for music you ain't even right. A thieving nigga, that's that shit I don't like. All music is bland and boring since this election. Is that some coonery I'm detecting? With everything going on, that's your message? We lost one chat, he a sellout, not a legend. Timbo, you delusional. Timbo chronically online. Get some fresh air, Tim. Touch grass, go outside. Maybe log out of your Twitch, take a break from the chat. Fighting for your life in these comments. You ain't noticed that? Timbo got his ass out. I'm about to cash out. Monetize the moment a icon became a crash out. Timbo going out bad. I'm a witness, shit sad. Don't baby girl me, my nigga. You not my dad. Don't baby girl me with the allegations you got. Don't baby girl me when you out here signing AI. Your opinion on my music, I do not remember asking. Old washed up niggas is not my demographic. No love for the culture, no respect, no passion. Timbo in my comments could be anywhere on any atlas. You losing it, Tim. I think you should take a break. If not for your own nigga, do it for your children's sake. Please, Timberland. Nothing but love for you, Missy. Get your man, Missy, he on live again. He taking money to review artists' music. Put a muzzle on that man. Missy, you would never do that. Things could have been different. Could have been like for real. Real, recognize real. There's a difference, we can tell. Kiss goodbye your legacy. Kiss goodbye your reputation. You used to be iconic. Now you washed up in the hater. Now you getting exposed for the lame ass shit you do. Stopping artists from eating cause they ain't break bread with you. You don't pay your employees. Now your ass is getting sued. Is that why you charging indie artists for music review? World on fire, Timberland in my comments. Worldwide protest. Timberland in my comments, losing rights every day. Timberland in my comments, he an icon and he paid. Why Timberland in my comments? You ain't got better shit to do, Tim? For the community and all that. You don't got better shit to do.
Yo, that right there. Woo! Yo. I was like, Yeah, she went straight Roland Martin on that boy. She was like,
You got to jump in his ass.
got to, I actually have a response from Timberland. It's like this. Yo, like, so, yo, she literally got at him. Apparently, this has been going on for a year. Now, Timberland, and I'm not trying to be funny because I was really excited when I saw the promo that he was supposed to be doing a record with Chloe Bailey. I just knew it was going to hit because to me, I think Chloe Bailey is a phenomenal producer. I think Timberland at one particular time was a phenomenal producer. Anytime you can get anybody to listen to Magoo rap, you're a phenomenal producer. Can't take it from you. Genuine, Missy, like, I mean, again. Also, did y'all peep the fact that Ryan Wild had an Aaliyah shirt on while ethering Timbo? That's my kind of petty. That's my kind of petty. Simply because I love it when people are really getting at folks. But yo, this industry is crazy. And I'm not trying to be funny because everybody likes to focus on Timberland's hits, but nobody focuses on his misses. Oh, y'all don't remember when Timberland missed? Sebastian was a miss. Magoo was a miss. Bubba Sparks. I mean, I liked a couple of. I like Miss New Booty, and I liked Ugly, but outside of that, now wonderful guy, very nice dude, and got nothing against Bubba Sparks, but come on, man. Like Timbo has put up a whole lot of bricks. A whole lot of bricks. Somebody said, who? Oh, yeah, there was a time when Timberland tried to put his brother on, and it didn't work out too well. Everybody talk about R. Kelly, but ain't nobody talk about Timberland. Baby girl, better known as Aaliyah. Give me goosebumps and hot fevers. Making play haters believers. Don't you know? Gotta tell somebody. Anyway, let me not even. He did drop the ball on Miss J. Shout out to Philly. He did drop the ball on Miss J. Miss J should have been a slam dunk. And again, I like Bubba. But when you look at Eminem, come on, son. Like Bubba did, he dropped the ball. What I'm saying is he dropped the ball on a lot of folks. But now he's signing digital artists. And my point in talking about that is when you start focusing on digital artists, then the art in and of itself becomes about what somebody else already created, and those artists don't ever get any credit. Now, I'm not saying AI don't have its place. Look at what it's doing for Beans. You know, because Beans ain't really got a voice no more, but he's using AI on himself. I think that's dope. You know, if you're not the best with harmonies, I'm not mad at you using AI. But for everything, nope. Yo, first of all, to this day, and I will give Timberland credit where credit is due. To this day, that is my second favorite Pastor Troy song, almost a tie for my favorite Pastor Troy song. Oh, tell me what's your name. Oh, are you wearing Bugle jeans? Hell no. I heard you was from Atlanta. Listen, Miss Jade owned that track. Baby, please excuse my manners. I just want to know. Are we cutting yet? Are we cutting yet? Are we cutting yet? Ew. Hell yeah. She won't see tomorrow if I don't cut tonight. Let me tell you something. All I'm saying is a lot of times this industry will start doing things, but to sit up here and tell that woman that she's not an artist, you bugging. You bugging. Ryan Wild is a hell of an artist. So again, I might play that on my way to Delaware today. But yeah, man, I just wanted to give y'all an idea and give y'all a different perspective on the whole Clive Davis situation other than what you've been getting. And I want to thank everybody for stopping through. Oh, make sure that you register for the Wealth Masterclass, which is absolutely phenomenal. It takes place this Friday. Yeah, no, 100%. And the Iceman said, yeah, no, that's an absolute Snapple fact. 100%. So listen, I got to get up out of here because I got a long road ahead of me, but I'm here for it. I'm definitely here for it. I hope y'all have a phenomenal day. We're going to be back on the scene crispy and clean tomorrow, bright and early, 10 a.m. I appreciate y'all more than anything. I want to thank y'all for being here. And y'all already know what time it is. Y'all already know how we get down. Y'all already know what this is and how we move. So y'all have a phenomenal day. And I will check y'all asses out next time. Peace.
Get on. Let that wake up, get your mind right. Real talk, no fluff, no sidelines. We outside, bring the truth to the sunrise. D.A.M.N, yeah, we coming at the right time. Dave Anderson Morning News. Like Hook Media. Morning Media just got dangerous.